The US government is about to take everything. They will take our parks, they'll take our schools, they've already taken our hotels, and they could potentially come for your homes. So I want to break down what's going on, why a Federal Reserve president is now warning of what is to come, but I also want to address what the Biden administration is doing about all this stuff right now. So I'm going to break all that down in just a minute. All I ask is one thing, takes 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates, and now let's begin. So, could the federal government come after everything you own? The answer is yes. What they continue to say is that you will have nothing and you'll be happy with it. I want to show you something. Look at this. This is from the Federal Reserve president. He says that migration is boosting mortgage rates. Now, I want to touch on this story, but also want to address what the Biden administration is doing right now to slow down migration. They are trying to work out some type of deal to slow down immigration into the U.S. But I was reading this article. I was reading this just last night, and I thought it was interesting. The reason why I thought this was interesting is because this president is saying that migration is boosting mortgage rates. And I'll get into what he actually says here. But it's interesting because mortgage rates usually go up because of the Federal Reserve, right? Because of inflation, right? Well, let me read this to you, and then I want to get your take on it as well. It says, while the long-run effect of increased immigration on inflation is unclear, immigrants nonetheless need a place to live, and their arrival in the U.S. has likely also increased demand for housing. Now, I bring this up because I was talking to a friend of mine about this just last night as well, and he was saying something very interesting. He was saying that people kind of misinterpret this because when immigrants come into the U.S., they don't come in with $100,000 or $200,000 that they put down on a home. And then on top of that, which lender is going to give a immigrant, let's say, $250,000 to go and purchase a home when they have no work history? It's unheard of. I've never heard of a mortgage lender doing that. But here's the thing you need to understand, is that immigrants that come into the U.S., they are giving hotels. You can go into certain states, certain cities. New York's one of them. Denver's another one. In California, they're doing as well. Chicago as well, where you can go into these cities and they have agreements with certain hotels where they will put you up in a hotel for a certain number of days, potentially a couple weeks. That's huge because you go into a hotel. Guess what? After you get removed from that hotel and you got to go on to the next thing, they put you in housing. That housing, those apartments, you're taking from residents. But those residents have to live somewhere. Guess where they're going? They're going to go and try to find a cheap place to live. If they have to buy a place, they're going to do it. This is why some are saying that citizens are now forced to go and buy an overpriced property because that's all they can get. But the Biden administration, they have a plan. President Biden, he is proposing a new asylum change. This is interesting. Okay, I didn't talk about this when it first came out, but just look at this. It says Biden's new asylum rule would have minimal impact on unauthorized border crossings. Well, what is his new asylum rule? Well, let's show you. It says on Thursday, the Department of Homeland Security announced a new rule intended to speed up the removal of some migrants ineligible for asylum. It says under the new rule, immigration officials at the southern border could quickly reject an asylum claim if that person's criminal history is deemed to pose a threat to national security. In that case, the person would be subject to deportation. However, here's where things get interesting. It says this determination could happen during the credible fear stage, within days of the migrant being encountered by immigration officials. This is the stage where migrants state that they could be persecuted, tortured, or even killed if they are sent back to their countries. What you need to keep in mind is, again, that's open for interpretation. What would we consider actual fear. And then on top of that, how serious does a person's criminal history need to be for them to be a threat to the national security? We don't know. But I bring all this up because we are starting to see more and more people enter into the United States. We're also starting to see more people spread out into different cities and different states. Before, it was San Diego, it was Denver, it was Chicago, and it was also New York. Those are the 4 places. Now, all large cities. Okay? So that's Denver. There's multiple places in Texas are still being overwhelmed by immigrants, but that's New York. We're seeing it in Chicago, in Boston. Miami's now starting to get hit. Seattle, Oregon, obviously Los Angeles, San Diego, Sacramento as well, Las Vegas. We're seeing people all over. Phoenix. People are starting to spread out. Now, I bring this to your attention because people are spreading out, but yet all the help, all the assistance is pretty much locked into a few different spots. For instance, in New York, migrants in New York City, they're receiving prepaid debit cards to help them with designated goods. But over in California, guess what? You get the Medi-Cal. You get California's Medi-Cal. That's offering insurance, health insurance, to all people, including illegal immigrants. Now, they're not saying they are offering it to illegal immigrants, but they say it's open to all low-income households, no matter your status. It does not matter your status. So, why is all this so important right now? Well, for one reason. One of the things that we're starting to see, our cities are pulling back some of their services, pulling back some of the assistance that they were giving their residents. And this is why experts believe they are coming after you and everything that you own. We've already seen in a couple cities where city officials were asking residents that if you have an extra room, a spare bedroom, maybe a trailer that you don't use, and you could let a legal immigrant or a family come in and stay there for a couple weeks or a month. That would be great. That'd be greatly appreciated because it would take the burden off of the city. So now city officials are asking residents to, invite somebody in. Give them a place to stay. Give them a free meal. Because the cities don't have the money to build new shelters, and they don't have the time. That's a huge thing. They don't have the funding to feed all immigrants that are coming into the U.S., especially when they're coming in at 5,000 to 8,000 immigrants per day. Then on top of that, just in the city of Denver, for example, I talked about this the other day, where the city of Denver, the Denver mayor, received a list. It's a list of 13 demands that migrants were asking for, one of which was fresh, culturally appropriate food. And they wanted all the ingredients. This was chicken, rice, beans, vegetables, things like that. They want to make their own food. They do not want pre-made meals. They want to make their own food. They also want unlimited time in the showers. They don't want to be kicked out of a shelter after 30 days. So they have these demands. What's interesting is the city of Denver doesn't have the funding in order to keep up with these demands. So what experts are telling us right now is to be ready. Because if the federal government needs to, they're going to come and take whatever they can so that they can kind of divvy it out to all the other people and all the other families that need some additional assistance. So, just want to share that with you. But again, let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think this is going to pull the United States apart? What do you think is going to happen? So, let me know down in the comment section below. But as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.